The next piece that we're going to jump to is a little bit out of order, right? We're going to go from our gut to our head. Why? Because like I said, most of the time, those are the ones that we're told to pay attention to the most, right? Oh, if you have that gut feeling about going out with that person tomorrow or, applying for that job, you should listen to it. And you're like, well, yeah, I should, but I don't know what it means, right? Or we get the opposite to our, really, have you thought about this yet, right? Have you thought this through properly? Don't be rash. Be rational and think it through. So we're going to jump into our heads for a second, and that's a place where all of us, I'm sure, I can put myself at the top of that list, can get stuck sometimes, right? Intelligence. That's the process or the energy that we're going to talk about when we talk about this processing center up here. The youngest processing center in the body, actually, in terms of, human evolution, right? The brain is the newest aspect of our processing centers in our organs. And I always get excited about this topic and then kind of lean on Call to fill it in, because in Chinese medicine, which obviously, Call practices as one of the modalities she works with, they talk about organs as entities that contribute to the whole. In other words, each one has its own pulse. Each one has its own job and set of responsibilities. But it isn't just a physical job that's being described. It's an energetic and emotional job that all of our organs have. So we're kind of zeroing in on these ideas with our organs, the things that we're talking about so far, our gut and our brain, as being not only responsible for physical aspects, but also for processing energetic and emotional information as well. So the one we're pointing to tonight and exploring next is intelligence. Okay, well, how do we define intelligence? The process of intelligence will help us do that. And the process of intelligence is another D word. We have decision in our gut. Differentiation is what our intelligence is about, right? So if we look at, and there's lots of research and bias around that research around this, but generally speaking, if we look at things like emotional intelligence or IQ testing or any kind of measure of intellectual acuity, what we see as a common thread between any direction that we point our intelligence in, whether it's to understand emotional issues, relational issues, rational intellectual issues or concepts, is the highest function, and the simplest way to describe the highest function of our intelligence is to differentiate things. Right? It's be able to tell this thing from that thing. Right now in our recording, we've got two microphones working. Okay, I could look at the microphones; they're exactly identical, the same brand, the same size, they've got the same filter. But because I hopefully have enough intelligence at my disposal to operate with, I can tell the difference between the mic that's in front of me, which you guys can't see on camera, and the mic that's in front of Colleen. Right? It's a really simple example, but I hope it illustrates just how important the ability that intelligence gives us is, and the process of differentiation to our effective function in everyday life. Like, imagine if we could not tell the difference between things. We couldn't differentiate between Monday and Tuesday. And I'm talking in really simple ways. We couldn't differentiate between a cold drink and a hot drink, right? So I'm being really, really obvious and oversimplified, because my goal is to get across the idea of just, even though we don't think about it, we take it for granted in many ways on a daily basis. The ability to differentiate things is pretty important, right? And down to the simplest actions and executions of anything we're trying to do in life. So that's why we've distilled it down to sort of its simplest and hopefully most straightforward element. Differentiation is what intelligence does.